There seems to be an issue with all my lyrical decks that I severely just delay them to God knows when. But I have a valid reason, and I really hope you appreciate it in the year of the rabbit. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Season 4 here. Today I'm back to cover Haseritt. And Haseritt is a LBTO3 deck that came out. It's basically like Spike Brothers, but it's a rabbit girl, okay? And it focuses on the mechanic that focuses on units that are innately weaker. So it's quite fun. I've had quite a lot of fun this deck. I built this list myself, and I was going to review it. I genuinely was going to, but then I was really busy with WGP last year, and then when I finished WGP season, I was like, all right, I'll finally cover it. And then uh, they made some January promos for Haseritt, and I was like, oh gosh. So I had to go all the way back and start grinding tournaments, and the season for this deck has just ended. The January February season has literally just ended, and I'm actually just finished out of a tournament, and I'm recording this video. This video will be released in March, in between my DBTO 9 schedule after Bro. So yeah, if you're watching this video, hello from the future, from the past. So let's actually get into this. And it's interesting because Haseritt is basically about time. She has a clock as a motif, which is interesting. Is this Kamen Rider Zero? I don't know. So the right deck is basically all of the Haseritt cards from the set. So let's actually get into that real quickly. It's not very complicated. Our grade 0 is brand new start Haseritt. So basically just a bunny girl at a studio. Our grade 1 is Bouncy Gate Haseritt. So basically when this unit is rolled upon by a grade 2 with Haseritt in its name, why did they need such a restriction? Are they making a new Haseritt right line soon? I hope not. You basically choose one grade 2 or less normal unit from your hand, call it to rear guard, and it gains 2000 power, and at the end of the battle this unit attacks a vanguard, bot deck it, and draw. That is a very interesting effect, but that's literally the gimmick of the grade 3. So you basically just give it the same rate text and effect as the grade 3. It's just a smaller pocket effect in the grade 1. I think it's very interesting. I don't think we've seen a right line that straight up has the effect of the boss unit being copied over in a smaller form. So it's nice to show that the strategy of this deck kind of plays throughout the whole game. And as you see, Haseritt is quite an aggressive deck, so yeah, you will see more of that in the future. The grade 2 is Undecided True White Haseritt. When this unit is rolled upon by a grade 3 with Haseritt in its name, again, why do we need such a restriction? Soul Blast 1, choose up to one grade 3 or less card from your hand and call. If you call the card, draw a card. So this is basically the pocket effect of the grade 3, and then this is just a straight up Soul Blast 1 draw. Very interesting. So Haseritt's grade 2 and above gaming is actually pretty strong, at least it appears. But what does Haseritt do? Haseritt, once per turn, Counter Blast 1, choose up to 5 of your normal unit rear guards, and they get 2000 power, and then they get this effect where at the end of the battle this unit attacks a vanguard, draw, and bot deck it. If you choose 3 or more units, this unit gains 10,000 power. So Haseritt can turn herself into a 23k column if you are playing a wider board. And basically it's a Counter Blast 1, all your units gain 2. It has to be rear guards, by the way, and then you give them the red text. So it's up to 5, but generally speaking, you just choose your whole board. It doesn't matter. So you can understand that Haseritt is a deck that goes wide, builds a board, and just beats and swaps the whole deck for draw. In the sense that makes Haseritt one of the most evasive decks in the format. So it is something you might want to take note of if you're very worried about control, or if you're very worried about the Messiah matchup actually. Haseritt is a great option for you to actually be considering. So just keep that in mind. Our grade 3 lineup, we obviously play 4 copies of Haseritt with 3 in the right deck, and then we play 4 copies of this girl, who is, this is Wish Fulfilled by a Pair, Milia. So let's get right into that. Wish Fulfilled by a Pair, Milia is a card actually from the first lyrical set. And its skills basically when placed on rearguard, Counter Blast 1, called a Dreaming Pupil Emmeline. No, not the promo, please. Blasters suck. Stop playing Blasters. Please go to hell. Not fun deck. Yeah, you basically call this girl. Okay. So it's basically a +1 as long as you just call. So it's a CB1 call 1. It's basically just a Cardian Bongo. Alright, and then this is just for Persona, right? Our grade 2 lineup is a lot more spicy, so you definitely want to stick around for that. our grade 2 lineup is 4 copies of this is Adorable Shooter Clanfell. Then we also play 4 copies of this other girl. This other girl is Cat's Cradle Sylphia. And then we play 1 copy of Haseritt in the right deck. So yeah, Haseritt in the right deck because this is a Haseritt deck. Don't have to explain very much. We talk about this girl first. She's one of the more impactful cards in the deck. When your other rearguards put to the bottom of your deck during your battle phase, Soul Blast 1 and it gains 10. It's an 18k attacker with Haseritt skill. It's a 20k attacker by itself, as long as this is like the second or more battle, because it needs to be put to the bottom of your deck for another unit. So basically 1 unit does it, it goes bot deck, you trigger this effect, it gains 10. Alright, and at the end of the battle, this unit hits a Vanguard. Put this unit to the bottom of the deck, draw a card, counter charge 1. None of these effects are tied to having a grade 3 Vanguard, so you can use this as early as turn 2 with your very aggressive right deck. And in case you haven't noticed, it draws a card and then counter charge. So you straight up trigger this skill and then the Haseritt skill to draw, which means you bot deck this unit to draw 2 and counter charge. So yeah, there's a lot of decks in one card. I'm surprised this isn't a double rag, and it's just really good. Then we have Adorable Shooter Clanfell. Clanfell skills, when placed on rearguard, if your Vanguard is Haseritt, you put a grade 2 or less card from your hand to the soul. Okay, Spine Brothers. So look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose a grade 3 with 12k or less power. Then you can also choose a grade 2 with 9k or less power, or a grade 1 with 7k or less power, and call. If you don't call, you draw. So you net 0. If you don't, if not, you can actually build a board. Yeah, you can call her. She is a grade 3 that fits the power requirement, which means on turn 2, you can easily pop off a board with 3 or more units. That's quite insane. You can also call a copy of Sylphia, who we just discussed. You can't call a copy of herself, it just doesn't trigger on herself, but she's a really busted card for Haseritt. Do pick her up at 4. It's a main playmaker. Moving on to our grade 1s. Our grade 1s, obviously, we play 1 copy of, our Haseritt in the right deck. I don't need to explain this one. We also play 4 Perfect Guards, because this is Vanguard. We want to actually live. We play 4 copies of any color bubbles Shaylin. We also play 2 copies of, this is 3 copies of Munch Lunch Kaolina. We play 2 copies of this girl, this other girl. This is Dreaming Pupils Emmeline. And then we play 2 copies of Isn't It Great to Be Attending School Rivoria. This is the promo. So yeah, there's a lot of these cards do very similar effects, so I need time to actually break them down. Obviously Haseritt in the right deck, I don't have to explain this. For PGs, because we want to play this as Vanguard, I've made a precaution not to actually play Elementaria Sanctitude in his deck, because we need units, as many units as you can, and it does count into the power ratio. So yeah, can you imagine it? It plays into the power. Any Many Bubble Xian also is a Haseritt support card. When his unit boosts a rearguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard of Haseritt in his name, is there a Stride Haseritt? Is that grade 4 Haseritt coming out? Okay. This unit gains 5,000 pounds to the end of that bell. At the end of this bell, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your back row center rearguards and move it to a front row. So basically, you can just have this unit boost, say, a Clanfell, right? You can have this unit boost a Clanfell, and then you can have a copy of a Sylphia in the center back column. So basically, what you do is you boost and support with Clanfell. Then you trigger the Haseritt effect. Clanfell moves to the bottom of the deck, which allows you to draw 1 card. After you draw a card, you trigger her effect. You Soul Blast, you Superior Call this out. You trigger that effect, you Soul Blast, she gains 10k. Yeah, that's quite an interesting combo already. So, Shaylin is our main multi-attack enabler, in case you were not able to guess. And she's pretty good at it. You just need to actually be grade 3 or greater, and she needs to be one of the back row boosters. So yeah, do keep that in mind. Speaking of another card that is a great back row booster, it's actually going to be Rivoria. Rivoria, when placed, if your Vanguard is a Haseritt or a Mediel, but that doesn't matter, it's a Haseritt deck. If your Vanguard is a Haseritt, it gains a skill that all of your trigger units that are placed during this turn are also counted as normal units. Now that effect matters for Haseritt in the sense that you can only choose normal units. Now you can choose to board deck your trigger units, which does happen when you are catching up in the game and you don't really have much cards to call offensively. You can just straight up just start dumping triggers, you know. You do have some cards that you can just dump like your triggers, and then they just also participate in the battle and gain the Haseritt ability and red tags. But more importantly is that second skill, and that is that if your Vanguard is a Haseritt or Mediel, which, you know, in this case is Haseritt, if it's a grade 3 or greater, any cards in the same column as this unit gain 5,000 power. This plays in really well with Shane, because you basically just made sure that you could multi-attack into different columns. Now you could straight up just slide a rear guard, like, you know, this girl, let's say. You can basically just slide this girl from being a center back column to replacing the attacker that was in front of her with her skill. So she boosts, and then she comes out, and you instantly get a 16, or no, it's not even 16. You get an 18k attacker because her skill triggers to give her 5 and the Haseritt red tags. Which is okay, and she's not even like an actual attacker, she's just a decent card. Can you think of it with something like Sylphia, where the numbers actually can get quite insane? Or if you still need more examples, you actually have a few more examples you can borrow from. And what is that example? There is no better example in this case than Kaulina. Kaulina is a grade 1 that has a skill that when your rear guard's put to the bottom of your deck during a battle phase, if your Vanguard is Haseritt, she gains 5,000 power. This is an effect that stacks, so she's actually one of the best attackers in this deck later on. The more attacks you perform, she basically can get even bigger and bigger, which is not bad. That's quite good. It's a good card. Speaking of power, we have the card that is called by the effect of Emmeline, and this is Emmeline. She's called by the effect of Milia. Yeah, I really can't get these lyrical names. Oh my goodness. If you're 3 or more other rear guards, this unit gains 5,000 power. Simple enough, 12k card. I don't have to explain this. I really shouldn't. Last but not least, our grade 0s. We play 4 crits, their effect. We play 3 draws, their effect. We play 4 regular heals, because, you know, we just need some balance. We play another 4 crits, an over trigger, and then a Haseritt grade 0. So yeah, this is really as basic as it gets. You know, we don't really need to play so many draws, so we want to focus on kill pressure, and the rest is history. And that wraps up my Haseritt deck profile. Yes, I know it has taken a very long time for me to actually produce this deck profile for you guys. And for good reason, because, you know, I needed a lot of time to actually play in these tournaments and, you know, win just so I could actually get these cards. I frankly am not the greatest fan of, you know, straight up being able to only get your cards if you beat up enough small children at a shop. I don't think I'm a great advocate for that. But you know what? I'm grateful that they're even printing Haseritt support to begin with, even though it's in the form of a promo. At the end of the promotional run, it actually dropped to about 600 to 800 yen. And you know what? That's not a bad price in my opinion for a card of this caliber for a deck that's actually not bad. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this very late Year of the Rabbit video, you know, just leave a like. Yeah, and this has been a really fun deck experiment. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.